Welcome to day 3 of our 28 days of connections and today's yoga practice. So I'm going to do a fairly swift movement practice today, and I would like you to focus on what we talked about for the task today, which was obviously embracing gratitude. So as we do the practice, I would like you to use this opportunity to think about how grateful you are to your body and your mind for being here, for being able to do this, all that sort of thing. And if there's any points that you can't do something, I want you to focus on what you can do, not what you can't do, and be grateful for the fact that you can do something, even if that something is just stopping and sitting and being still. And so yeah, so we'll get going. So we're going to start standing up today. So if we just start off first of all by just grounding through our feet and placing them quite mindfully on the floor, and you can just actually physically lift one foot and then the other, and just really think about placing the feet down, putting the weight through the different parts of the feet. And then you may also want to just transfer the weight from side to side, just to feel what it's like to be off balance. Maybe lifting up your toes and then your heels, just having a play with just shifting your weight around about, and then coming to stillness. And you can bring your hands into prayer if you want to, but you don't have to, you can keep them by your side. And then just take a few breaths here, just to settle. It looks today like we're going to be sharing in Guinness and Lola eating their dinner. They appear to be highly grateful for their food right now. Okay, so then we're just going to move to the end of our mat. And just start by putting your feet just about shoulder width apart. And one of the ways that you can find this is by, if you think about where your sit bones are in your bottom, just think about there, that's the kind of hip distance. When we talk about hip distance, shoulder distance apart, we're not thinking about them being out here, so just have them around about that. So it's probably a bit closer than you think. And then we're just going to start by stretching up and just getting some length into the spine. And just taking a big stretch. And if you've been sat down all day working, then just really reaching up, seeing if you can just grow a couple of inches. And then bringing the arms down to your side, and then taking another big deep breath and stretch. Getting to that top point and just stretching, almost grounding down through your feet, so you're almost pushing down through the floor but reaching up through your fingers at the same time, and then coming back down. And then we're just going to take one arm up and then just slightly tilt over to one side, and then back down, and then the other side. So take your arm up, and again look for that length first before you tilt down. A nice stretch down your side, come back up, and then one more big breath in. You can bend your knees this time, and then coming back down. And so, right, so then we're going to just move into a bit of a flow. So coming up, taking your arms up overhead, and then thinking about bending your knees, keeping your back straight, bending your knees, almost as if you're doing the chair pose, and coming down into your forward fold. And then flattening your back, keeping your back straight, and so lifting up into that half position with your back straight. Coming back down, tucking into that forward fold to get your legs as straight as they'll go. Coming back down, taking your right leg back, and then your left, and then holding just in plank for a short amount of time. Taking a few breaths. Heavy. And then you can either lower yourself down from here or drop to your knees and lower yourself, keeping your arms close to your sides. And then coming into that small little back bend. And when we're doing this cobra, I want you to think about, before you go up, think about almost pulling forward, stretching your spine. So you're always stretching forward, 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 and then coming back down. And then doing another one, so just stretching forward and back down. And another one forwards. And you may be able to lift up a bit higher and back down. Thanks, Guinness. And then lifting back up into plank. And coming to your downward facing dog. And again, focusing on that long back. So again, you can have your knees bent to start with, just to focus on getting your back nice and long and straight. And then try to straighten your legs. And again, it's not about getting your heels on the ground. They don't go if your hamstrings are particularly tight. And then just take a few breaths here. And then taking your right leg up. And when you take your right leg up and lift it up high, there's a tendency for you to sort of make your pelvis go wonky, which is the better way of saying that. So really try and focus on leveling your hips, which means you might have to drop your leg down, but then when you're leveling your hips again, you can maybe lift it up. And then just bringing your knee in, rounding up through your spine, and taking your foot forward into a lunge. Whew. You can drop your back knee down. And here from this position here with your fingertips on the floor, again, just bringing your chest forward, stretching your chest forward, rather than always thinking about the back. And then coming back down and bringing your leg back into that sort of runner's type stretch. And again, try and keep your back straight rather than rounded. Moving through, going back onto the toes into a lunge, and then coming up from that lunge into a high lunge. And then taking your hands up and overhead. And again, lifting up. Think about lifting up. And if you want to, you can just slowly do a small back bend, but again, it's all about lifting up. And then coming back down. Taking your right foot back into plank. And then lowering down, all the way down. And then just doing those few cobras. Or half cobras, baby cobras, unless you want to do a full. But if there's any discomfort in your lower back, then don't do it. Because it probably means you're bending from the wrong part of your back. You're putting all the pressure here. That's why I'm trying to say, focus on almost pulling forward before you go up. And then back down. And then coming back to plank and into your downward facing dog. And if you need to, when you come into these positions, take some time to get the position, you know, in that sort of flat back position. And just play with the move. And then taking your left leg up this time. And again, just really, you might want to straighten that right leg, but think about making sure those hips are nice and even before you lift up your left leg. And then coming through with your knee, rounding up, lifting up, and stepping through. And then dropping your right knee down. And then taking a shine forward. Again, up and forward. New fingertips. Coming back down. And then lift, just going back, oh, onto your hamstring. God. And then coming forward, lifting your back knee and coming up into that high lunge. Taking your arms up overhead, which does require quite a lot of balance. And then again, thinking about that grounding down, so putting your weight down and lifting up and out. And taking maybe a small back bend. And then coming down. Stepping back. Taking one more lower down to your tummy. And then coming back into child's pose. And now coming back to that thought we had at the beginning about gratitude. It's just a short flow practice. And there were probably points that maybe you felt were more difficult. And we have a tendency to focus on the things that we can't do and make ourselves feel bad. Instead of focusing on everything we've just done, even just making the time to do this. And obviously I'm super grateful for the fact that Guinness is licking my hand at the moment. And so just lifting up, taking some breaths here. Bring your hands into prayer. Bowing your head. And just thank yourself for taking part in the practice today. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you all tomorrow for day 4. And it's Yoga Nidra as normal.